Coming up on this week's Harper's Bazaar Currently Trending, we talk Facebook and all things privacy in the social media age. Coachella, will you be there? Will you be wearing flowers in your hair? And finally, equal pay has been announced for men and women across the UAE. What does this mean for how you ask for your next pay rise? Hi, this is Louise from Harper's Bazaar Arabia, and it's this week's Currently Trending, and I'm delighted to have with me Carla DiBello, Bazaar's amazing columnist.
Thank you. Happy to
all-round entrepreneur and LA to Dubai glamourpuss, I should say. And of course, Rosemin Manji, who you all know, who contributes a lot to Harper's Bazaar, working with us on events and special projects, and is an absolute force on the social scene and the luxury fashion industry across the GCC. Hi, Rose.
Thank you for having me today.
Thanks for coming, guys. So to dive straight in, I know we've all been glued to Mark Zuckerberg and his deposition in front of the senators in the US in the light of the data scandal that has engulfed Facebook. So tell me, I'm really curious to know how you guys use Facebook and what part of your lives it makes up, and is that changing?
I think for me right now, it's an app that's just there and open constantly, which I'm now learning if it's safe to be open all the time. But I use it more for family and friends that I grew up with more than on a daily social.
Yeah. And is your account private or?
Yeah, my account is private, and I kind of did like this detox a few years ago where I just started allowing people that I know or that know me kind of be, so I can have a separate file to post family pictures or just different things.
Yeah. And Rose, do you use it?
I agree, actually. I'm not super active on it. It is open, but when I look at the friends I have on it, it's literally like, I don't mean to
High school.
Yeah. And also, it's like my aunts and uncles, like it's this older generation that it's their social tool. So I don't really post my day-to-day stuff, but all the friends that I grew up with, like who now have kids, it's our way of keeping in touch. And so I do leave it open, but it's definitely not something I'm active with.
Yeah, I think I have the same. I think when it started, it was, I don't know, it was over 10 years ago, right? So it was very much a personal thing. It was a family thing. And I kind of feel like maybe WhatsApp has superseded that because we now all have family groups on WhatsApp, and that's kind of where you share the pictures.
Yeah, and I think now I have that app, which also anything I post on Instagram is now just updated there, but I don't necessarily use it on a daily. It's more any Instagram post, though, people can see it. So I get comments from like my grandmother who's like, 85 years old. And I'm like, oh God, I should really like be careful when I'm putting up.
Because I think for all of us, Instagram is a totally different audience, right?
Exactly.
We approach
Completely.
it.
It's open, but Facebook for me, definitely I'm not active. And it's really, when I look at kind of my friends on there are people I really grew up with.
And now watching this thing with Mark Zuckerberg, I'm starting to see like, oh wow, I need to go into my settings and change a few things because all my friends even say, it's so weird. I was just talking about so-and-so and now it popped up on my Google search, and you're wondering, and it's really the algorithms and them taking all your data.
Yeah.
And it's being stored.
Exactly. And it may not even be something that you've done, but if one of your friends has done one of these quizzes or something that's mining the data, that's how it's escalated to 87 million people or whatever the number is.
Oh, I avoid those quizzes. I'm always like,
even if you avoid
but like it's true.
If I do the quiz, your data
goes.
So, you're super vulnerable. I actually froze mine. You can freeze it without deleting it. So everything stays. But I just kind of thought, it's not a privacy thing necessarily because I put a lot on Instagram. But I think because of the way that we approached Facebook, with it being so, and it's very personal, intimate when you're addressing that family audience, you're quite intimate. Whereas I think with Instagram, it is curated and it's public and it's potentially global.
I think at the beginning, it was really the first generation of social media that people were like, oh my God, so-and-so from fourth grade reached out to me because I had my elementary school or my middle school.
And then you think, you're like, there's a reason I didn't keep in touch with
exactly. And then you start collecting. I'm like a contact collector. I'm just constantly collecting. And I'm like, and then you get to a point 10 years later, and you're like, why was I doing this? And why do I care what they think of me, Yeah. So it's really become, it's really I'm starting to try to like detox a bit from that too, and just not having so many people, because it's like it's so exciting to connect and see, oh, and look at their pictures, and oh, they have 3 kids now. But then you're like, do I need to keep in touch on a daily basis, and do I want to, show off my platform or my life to somebody that I haven't spoken to in 20 years? I mean, I guess it's exciting to keep up with friends and see what's going on, but it's also, so many eyes out there.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible that Facebook, they talk about Zuckerberg as a world leader now, the power that business has. And yet it is interesting because you speak to kids and they just like, no, grandma, go away. We do not use Facebook. When I speak to young people under 20, they don't use that.
Yeah.
So what are they? They're more like Snapchat.
I think, and Instagram a bit as well. But yeah, Snapchat.
I will say that Facebook is great for reminding you about birthdays. Like it is, like it's actually
that's the one thing.
Like the best thing
or if
ever.
I forget a birthday, I'm like, let me go
exactly,
quick and see what day that was.
So keeping Facebook for birthdays.
For birthdays,
definitely. And check your settings.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of.
But I mean, when you come down to settings, actually, it's a great point. But how do you, it's for the app or that program to simplify the settings. I think sometimes you look at the settings and you actually don't know, what you're agreeing to or what you're not agreeing to. Like, I feel like sometimes the wording is a little bit tricky.
Yeah. They definitely don't educate you because their goal is to get this data, right? So then when you go in,
I don't think it's very simple. I mean, because we're using technology all the time, and so we're kind of reading things. But I think not all consumers would be looking at the settings and really simplify like what you're allowing.
And we're at a time now.
It's like all the.
We're at a time where nobody has patience for reading the fine line, so they're just have an urgency. And I was watching as well that if you accept the Messenger app with Facebook, they have access now to your text messages and what you're writing people. Yeah. And if you access that and want to put it on your phone platform, then they have access to your
your contacts,
to everything and everything you're writing about. They know. So it's an interesting time.
It is. And the problem is then when that data is manipulated and used to try and influence voting or, influence behaviors in that way. I don't know that I would necessarily feel particularly susceptible to that, but.
Yeah, I think that was something that nobody even thought about, even Mark Zuckerberg in his Harvard dorm room. He was like, I'm going to manipulate the whole system.
Exactly. I'm going to change the election results.
So I'm sure he's in training himself to really figure out, because there's things when you start a project, you don't even realize where it's going to lead you. And, technology now is just so powerful.
Do you feel issues with privacy on Instagram? I mean, we all have open platforms and we all put content up that some people would say, don't put. I have pictures of my children on there, which I'm kind of okay with.
It's funny. It's like I have different moods about it daily. Sometimes I'm like, no, I don't want to post this. And then some days I'm like, oh, I want people to see my family but then my family is so, they're not really like active on the social media. So it's not like my brothers could care less. So it's not as, it's not like I'm trying to always include family photos and family events. And so it's interesting. I don't know how you would,
Yeah, but I mean, for me, I think twice about even on Insta stories or Snap. Like, I don't do 24 hours of my life. Like, I don't think people want to see me sitting in a meeting or like, sitting in traffic or something. But like the highlights or things that I feel like people would be interested in, I will open Insta stories. But like even Instagram, like I think twice about putting up a picture. Like,
me too.
It is very curated, and it's what you want the world to see.
And it's kind of become the new normal to share everything, for everyone to share everything. I think it's less of an issue than it was, when Facebook started, I guess, 10 years ago. It does become normalized that you go onto Instagram and you immediately expect to find out everything about someone's life. I use it as like a CV for someone. If I'm researching them, right? You go onto their Instagram page and she's married or she's got this,
And that's another part, I think, for me, which is really funny, is I'm so different in real life than my Instagram. And so it's almost like my alter ego, my Instagram, because then people in real life, anytime I meet somebody that's never met me and they just follow Instagram, they're like, oh, I thought you were so different. And, it's just like it's just like you're putting out to the world what you want them to see. But yet, like, my personal life, I feel so different.
Do you think that's because we're all really boring normally?
Yeah, maybe. I'm like, this is my
I'm
art
always
project.
like, they're like, oh, all you've been doing is you've been out and about. I'm like, no, actually, I was sitting in a conference for 3 hours this morning. Like, that's not interesting. Yeah. Like, I don't think that's interesting sitting. Like,
it's really interesting. Right? Yeah, it's really interesting. And I have to, a lot of different businesses that I'm involved in, I have to be careful not to.
Discreet. Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it's you're definitely. You can find out so much about somebody on Instagram now. I mean, it really is the CV. And I'm sure anybody goes to that immediately just to get a sense of someone's character.
Yeah. So you do have to be aware of how you're posting.
For sure. I mean, my nephew, first year of university, the admin, when they were applying, said, clean up your social media to students because that's what, universities are looking for well-rounded students, not, so it was interesting. They were actually using that as a reference point.
Right. I'm definitely careful on the captions.
Yeah.
And when I try not to quote like a rap song.
No 4-letter words, please.
Yeah, exactly. No, never that.
And, I think sometimes after... I sit there on my phone and I'm scrolling through, and you do fall into this hole. And I know they call it like the wormhole, and it's true, and it happens. And at the end of it, I've learned nothing. My brain hasn't expanded. I'm not in any way enriched. Yeah. I haven't. It's much better to pick up a book and read an incredible piece of writing, and yet it is so addictive. And it is that.
Well, it's because it's just visually stimulating, right? So it's instant like gratification of like.
Yeah. But I think, we were talking about taking digital detoxes, and, it's the time of year where people are thinking maybe about readdressing their behaviors and taking more time to be spiritual and think about the bigger picture. So it's maybe a good time of year to start contemplating a digital detox. I've
definitely moved the Instagram into a separate folder, so it's just not constantly in my face. And I've started I listen to so many audiobooks now to kind of like keep my mind moving in a different direction. And anytime I catch myself trying to check a message or go to Instagram, I'm like, just stop. You have to really train your mind.
Yeah.
And detoxing. And I think now is like the perfect time.
Yeah.
Every year I come to a point where I'm like, okay, I need to detox from seeing other people's lives and what's going on in the world.
But I would say it's this element of just being present, right? Like you're so tempted to like, even at a dinner table, your phone's there, like just, and I've made a conscious effort as well, is just to be present at that moment. If I'm having lunch or dinner or whatever it is, or sitting in a meeting, I put the phone away or on the side or put it on silent and just not get tempted to, open that message if it pops up. Yeah. And it's a matter of training
and being in someone's presence. And if you're in the middle of a conversation and you pick up your phone or they pick up their phone, they don't even consciously realize. They just stop talking. They just stop telling their story, and they're just in their phone in a whole other world right now. Yeah. And you're like, wait a minute, come back to me. I'm here. Yeah. So I agree with you. I think you have to really make an effort to just put it away.
Yeah.
And not have it flashing or open.
Yeah. And we're actually about to go into the time where Instagram is going to go nuts because Coachella is in full force. Annual Instagram.
Maybe that's a good time for me to detox. I'm not interested in Coachella, to be honest.
Rosemin or I prefer.
Show. So as our resident American, Carla, talk to us about Coachella. And should we all be there wearing flower crowns?
I have been in LA for so long, and I've never been to Coachella. And it's just, I don't know, I just feel that it's something... Well, now it seems very millennial to me and just a complete fashion show. And everybody is just not there for the moment. They're there for the Instagram photo or everyone's taking pictures. I feel like nobody's really enjoying the entertainment around them because it's just turned into this validation to take photos.
I will say I do want to see Beyonce's outfit on the second night. So that's like, I love her.
Okay, so we want to see Beyonce, but we want to see Beyonce. Like our phones are about being flooded, right?
Yeah.
With these. Do you get FOMO? Do you get?
I think I get FOMO of like when I have close friends that are all together and seeing them together. But the actual, like, I know I'm not a big festival person, so I don't get FOMO about big crowds like that.
Yeah. Rosemin, tense.
Yeah, no, I don't get FOMO for sure.
Yeah.
I did get FOMO this weekend with you. I was following your San Francisco trip. So, Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Love Idris.
Yeah. The vineyards of Francis Ford Coppola. I got FOMO from Louise Nichol this weekend. That's what I got.
my kind of FOMO.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my kind of FOMO. I just thought it was a great experience. So that was my FOMO.
Yeah, that was a nice hotel thing, but the camping isn't really doing it for you.
No, definitely. No, I definitely do not get FOMO. Of
I can't
any
see
kind.
Rosemin and Coachella staying in a...
Yeah. I'm still trying to get into the trainers and like, you know, that cool trainer urban vibe, and I still couldn't do it. I had to be in like Chanel ballet
She's in
flats
her ballet
today.
flats.
Yeah. Like,
But you're in flats. This
I'm
is
in
a
flats,
start,
which
right?
which is a start. But I don't know how to do that look.
Rosemin, do you actually own any trainers?
I do. Like, not a lot of them, but I do. Yeah, I do.
From a fashion perspective or a gym
So
perspective?
definitely not a fashion. Like I really want to get into this whole like Gucci trainer, the Balenciaga, and I keep looking at them, but there's nothing that wants to make me swipe my credit card for them. Like I would rather get a great pair of heels.
I think if you start with like a wedge trainer, it's a helpful
Is it helpful?
segue.
Good tip.
Because I mean, I love trainers to work out in, but I haven't adapted to the fashion
The
of
daily
like
life,
wearing
right?
an Adidas or like, it's more just workout. And then when I travel, I wear like a wedged Isabel Marant
Oh, see, I
or
think I need to get that.
Balenciaga.
That's
Yeah.
impressive. See, I'm a bit of a slob, and I have to say I'm in trainers all weekend and definitely when traveling.
Yeah.
I
Oh, when
couldn't even do a
traveling.
wedge.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Flat sneaker?
Totally
Running
flat.
sneaker?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
A
I'm
Nike
interested in
Flyknit
that.
Racer. It's like
Really?
walking on clouds. And I
Really?
realised that I sound like a grandma at Disney World.
Wait, I need to get those. Really?
Well, when you have 3 kids to run
Yeah,
after,
yeah.
you
It
kind
might
of
be.
need the sneaker.
Yeah, but I love a train. The Gucci ones are really comfortable.
Yeah, see,
Tip.
I can't.
Those are
The
cute.
sizing is insane. You have to try them on. You
Good
can't just buy them. You have to buy like 2 sizes smaller, but they're really comfortable.
Yeah, like I tried, I just can't. Like,
But you know what? I think it's a slippery slope. I think the fact that you guys are good in heels, keep that, because once I let mine go, I couldn't pull it back.
like,
I mean, I definitely, when I spent time in Bali, it was like flats every day. Not even sneakers, just flip-flops.
yeah,
and just,
like
you
so
don't
that's, yeah, that's
care.
my extreme. It's like even
Yeah.
like flip flops,
Sandals.
Yeah.
And so now
I
it's
like
a
nice
bit...
smoking loafers. Like, I
Yeah.
like that.
Oh,
I do that,
really? Yeah. I did that for a bit.
Yeah, I
But
like
now I'm just like, as I get older, I'm like, oh, my back, my, you know, everything is, you know, it hurts when you're in heels every day. So it is good to kind of transition or change them off.
Yeah. And what are you guys buying right now, liking right now, wanting for spring, summer? What's the last thing you bought, Carla?
The last thing I bought, I mean, I bought some cool things in Bali that were just, I mean, my thing now is I'm trying to transition out of this winter to spring, summer, and I've been wearing so much black all winter because when you travel, it's just so easy to pack everything. So now being back in Dubai, it's so hot out.
Yeah.
And I'm into a lot of like cream and white. I think the last thing I bought was like a white James Purse dress that was just like cotton and easy. And God, yeah, I'm just trying to
Love James
really,
Purse.
yeah, it's so comfortable.
And Rosemin?
I just got actually a really nice maxi dress by that Greek brand, Zeus Dion.
Uh-huh.
So I ended up buying it in 2 colors. That's how ridiculous.
It's a good one.
I am. Yeah. So
Where did you buy it?
So I bought the blue one from Etoile.
Uh-huh.
And so because I don't really wear like, I kind of more conservative on the side. So the one on the website actually has cutouts, and I don't wear that. So the one they made for the Middle East for Etoile had silk like covers. So I bought that from Etoile. I loved it so much. I bought it in cream off the Modist. But I just loved it because it was just, it's perfect for, actually I can wear it during Ramadan because it's super loose and it's like a maxi dress. And then if I want to kind of update it or style it, I put it with like a belt and, you know, clinch it at the waist. And I felt like those were my 2 good purchases. And
Excellent.
I love finding one good thing and just buy it.
With all the colors, it's such a bad habit, but I actually am really happy with these two dresses. It was a beautiful cobalt blue from Etoile, and then I tracked it down on Modus. And so for the Middle East, they actually covered the cutout part and put silk.
That's so interesting. Yeah, that's really cool.
I really like that.
And on the subject of shopping, we've got good news because the UAE has just announced equal pay for everyone, men and women, working in the country.
Congratulations.
So
that's exciting.
It's really exciting. I mean, it shows, how visionary the leadership is here, which, it's not a move that every country in the world has replicated. It's great for us because we can shop more.
Yeah, exactly. And everywhere in the Middle East is changing so much that to hear news like this is just everything else is going to follow.
Exactly. How does it make you feel when you hear news like that?
I love it because, I definitely feel like people, especially from America, they have a misconception about women working in the Middle East. And now it's just so great to know, a woman that's a minister or that's doing these powerful jobs that have always been thought to be a man. And I think the UAE has done an amazing job at giving people these platforms to, to go further.
Why do you think historically, and not just here, but anywhere in the world, why do you think men tend to get paid more than women in the first place? Is it just because they're better at asking for it?
I think they started the law.
I'm terrible. Yeah, but I'm terrible at negotiate. Like, I'm terrible at confrontation, negotiations. Like, I feel that I would kind of avoid that conversation. And I don't know if most women are like that, but I just feel like men will ask for what they want and they don't care what the answer is. They just kind of.
And I think the time is changing so much that back when we were all growing up, I feel like women really were just known to take care of the household and the kids, and it wasn't as, a woman wasn't as ambitious to go out and have a man's position. And so now I feel like it's just, they're equaling out so much that it's becoming the normal to look forward to doing that type of position.
Yeah. Obviously you negotiate, that's your job, Carla. You're constantly doing deals and negotiating between people. Do you feel that you can ask what you want for financially and you can kind of sort of just say, Carla, man up?
I work around men all the time, and I'm, always around men, especially in my industry. And so I've, practice makes perfect. I used to definitely feel, like, let me just prove myself. Let me just show them, I can do the same job. And now it's just, I feel like I'm on equal playing ground. And I also feel that the men understand that now. Whereas before, you always felt like you were trying to prove yourself. And now it's just, the normal that, they have to answer to women and they have to look up to other powerful women in these positions and understand that it is an equal playing field.
Yeah, and you can ask for what you want and you shouldn't.
Yeah, and you should just
you
should just have it. I mean, there's nothing better than just being super upfront and honest and like coming
Especially
from
when you can deliver as well. Like I think I think women have to have really confidence in themselves that they're going to deliver the same results. They're going to work as hard.
Definitely, yeah. And we do the same, it's the same thing. So I definitely feel that, there's nothing wrong with asking for what you want. And there's nothing wrong with, if you feel afraid, like prepare yourself. You know what I mean? Like I've had times where I've been in positions and I'm like, I think I deserve a raise, but I'm scared to have that one-on-one because you can't talk to anyone else about it, but, the person that is the decision maker. And so I think it was, nerve-wracking and, but you have to get to a comfortable place with yourself and understanding your worth to be able to go out there and just have that.
To play Alicia Keys' like Women's Worth and then go into the meeting.
Is that what you do, Rose? Is that your?
I actually love that song, by the way.
Is that your tip for negotiation?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you struggle with it still,
I don't like confrontation at all. And it's not a good character trait of mine. I know that, but I don't like negotiation. I don't like confrontation. But I do think, when I am asking for something, I've been in this industry for so long. I actually, this year is my 10th year here, and it's 10 years of R&Co. And it was actually a really good time where I was like, oh my God, I don't have to prove like before I was always like, I don't need to prove myself.
compete.
These are my results. This is what I've done. Like, I don't need to, I've been in the industry for 20 years, and so now I'm very confident. I go into a meeting and I feel like I've actually changed. And it's taken me a while to be like, I know my worth now. I know what results I have given to brands or clients. And so, I walk into a meeting very differently now than before, I would have done a lot of follow-ups. Now I'm like, this is what I can offer. Yeah.
So what advice would you give, do you think, to women who might be listening to this, who feel that they're underpaid or they're not being treated in the same way as a male colleague? So Carla says, do your research or be prepared.
Yeah, and really just start from yourself, and the root is yourself, and getting into why are you afraid to ask for it? Like get to the main issue of yourself and what is stopping you. Is it fear? Is it you feel like maybe you're not doing a good enough job to ask for it? So it's really just about finding yourself within and then getting comfortable with that, and then everything else really flows.
And play some Alicia Keys.
I would say, I think if you're in a corporate environment, it's good to actually sit down and take time for yourself and write down where do you want your career to go, and whether it's your direct line manager, your HR, and create a plan with them and say, these are the results I've achieved this year. You do a little bit of your homework, reflect on what you've contributed to your team, your department, whether it's revenue results or team building. And, and present that to your HR or your direct manager and say, this is where I want to go in my career path, and let them shape that with you. And I think loyalty counts a lot in a company as well. So I think, when a line manager or HR know that you are invested in the company as well, they want you to develop. And I think that's okay to ask. But I do say, I do agree with Carla, definitely be prepared before going in. Don't just ask for just don't be like, I want money. I don't think that works now.
State a few good one-liners, a few facts of why you deserve
And
this.
I think a lot of it comes down to, my daughter's 5, kind of how you raise kids from the outset, really, and knowing that they're equal from that age. She always says to me, she's very confused about my job and work, and she often says to me, do you pay to go to work, Mummy?
Oh, that's so cute.
In some ways it feels like I do, because of all the clothes that I end up buying once I fall in love with them in the magazine. But I don't know quite where she's got this impression that going to work is such a privilege that we pay for it. I don't know if this is a good thing to have in her mind or not. I'm trying to teach her that that's not quite how it works.
I would say, I would respond that you're very lucky to do something you love. You study journalism, you're, working for the best magazine in the world. It is a dream job. And so, I think if you work hard and you can find a job that is really your passion, it doesn't feel like work.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
For sure, you have to set, with any job or anything you want to do, like your joy radar. Like, what are you happy about waking up to do?
I agree.
And
great. Well, that's a wonderful note to end on, your joy radar. Let's all get our joy radars off the scale, everyone. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Louise from Harper's Bazaar with Carla and Rosemin. This was Currently Trending, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
For more from Harper's Bazaar Arabia, don't forget to pick up the April issue now on newsstands, or visit the website at www.harpersbazaararabia.com.